Prince Harry might not have his day in court over these phone hacking claims after all, but the reason for it might not be entirely obvious, which obviously I'll explain in this video. But first of all, if you're new to me, I'm Daniel Shansmith, the Barrister of England and Wales. Please do hit that subscribe button. About 70% of the millions of you that watch every month don't do that. Please do hit that button. I'm aiming for 500,000 subscribers, even 1 million, but that's going to take some time to get there. So please do that, and thank you for doing that. So what is the reason and why is it not obvious? Well, there's a clue in the reason, and that is Hugh Grant, which I'll come back to in a moment. But it also raises the very notion of buying justice, because many people say that you cannot achieve justice unless you have enough money. And money is the very reason in this whole thing, because there's a settlement offer been made, presumably to Prince Harry as well, but certainly to Hugh Grant, which has resulted in his case not going to trial, which he revealed in a Twitter thread, I believe, on Wednesday. The 17th was Wednesday, I think. So let's take a look at that first of all. Hugh Grant says, "For anyone that's been interested in my lawsuit against the Sun, the news is that I've had to settle my claim out of court before it gets to trial. News group are claiming that they're entirely innocent of things that I've accused them of doing, which included phone hacking, or unlawful information gathering, landline tapping, and so on. I'll come back to those in a moment." And says, as it is common with entirely innocent people, they're offering me an enormous sum of money to keep this matter out of court. I don't want to accept this money or settle. I would love to see all the allegations that they deny tested in court. But the rules around civil litigation mean that if I proceed to trial and the court awards me damages that are even a penny less than the settlement offer, I would have to pay the legal costs of both sides. This is a full thread. I will link it in the description. I'm not going to read it all out. But in short, what this means is, and there's a much more in-depth video from our Alan Roberts show, I'll link in the description below. It's on offers, settlements, and costs, because there are lots of rules in our civil procedure rules. This will be particularly interesting to those international viewers. We have very, very strict rules about offers, acceptance of offers or non-acceptance of offers, the ultimate judgment at trial, and then what happens with costs. So in a nutshell, it's this. If you are suing or threatening to sue another party, because one of these offers can be made even before proceedings are issued, but let's say that proceedings are underway, the other side says, well, here is an official offer of settlement made under Part 36, which is known as a Part 36 offer. Has to be open for at least 21 days for acceptance. And it has to be very specific as to what it incorporates, whether it is a settlement of the entirety of the claim and lots of other rules. As I said, I'll link Al's video in the description below if you want to hear very much more about that. There's no point going over that again. But in short, if the defendant or prospective defendant even makes a Part 36 offer and the claimant does not accept it, and does not get a better judgment at trial, that has significant cost consequences for the claimant, even if they win the claim. So in Hugh Grant's case, he feels that he has been forced, in his words, really to accept this money, accept this settlement, and not have the case go to court. Because even if he did go to court and insist that all of these issues are tried and tested, and get a court judgment as to whether he's right or which bits of it he might be right on, then the court will go on to consider damages if he were right in these claims, and the same goes for Prince Harry. If he were right in these claims, but then the court will go on to determine damages. But if those damages are not more than the settlement, then that has significant cost consequences, which are estimated to be in the region of £10 million in costs. Because obviously there's a lot of history, there's a lot of issues, there's a lot of claimants and representative parties here, so the costs are going to be astronomical. So even if he were to win on every point, or let's say even half the points raised. So if the damages are even 1 penny less than the settlement offer made under Part 36, there are significant cost consequences of running the case to trial. The reasoning behind that is the court and the rules say that there was no need for this to go to trial because they offered you money which was more than you achieved by going to trial. So hopefully that makes sense in the broad sense of the word. But if you're really interested in more on the rules on Part 36, I will do no better than to link Al's video in the description below. I'm sure I've done some videos on that before as well. I'll try to find those. Particularly interesting for law students. It's a very complex area. It's complex for lawyers, let alone law students, and the rules are constantly being tweaked over the years. So for those of you that are wondering, how does this affect Prince Harry? Why would this prevent Prince Harry from having his day in court? And for those of you wondering, what is this claim all about anyway, because there's been so many of them and you're forgiven for forgetting which one this is, I'll come back to that in a moment. But David Sherborne has said, quite rightly, that Prince Harry is in exactly the same predicament as Hugh Grant, in that the offers made to each of the parties make it, frankly, impossible to go ahead with the trial. Because, again, if they don't achieve a better level of damages than that made in the Part 36 offer, then it will have significant cost consequences. In that, very simply put, the rules say they should have accepted the offer because they didn't beat it at trial, and therefore the trial was a waste of time. Now, just recapping and summarising, we are talking about the claims here of alleged unlawful information gathering and phone hacking, and these violations occurring allegedly between 1994 and 2016. But with the current claim focusing on the period of 1996, I believe, to 2011. Prince Harry and others say that the newspaper and private investigators were using unlawful methods to gather information, which included phone hacking, bugging, and even trespassing. Now, phone hacking doesn't necessarily have to be as complex and difficult as it sounds. It could simply be accessing voicemail with a PIN code, which was set at the default PIN code, which many of them were in those days. And so if you as an individual were to ring whatever the number was to access somebody's voicemail and then put in the PIN code, which might be a default PIN code, and that gives you access to their voicemails, that is unauthorized access, which does amount to hacking in the legal sense of the word. Now, speaking of mobile phones, let me tell you about a bit of a scare that I had not too long ago, and what I might have been able to do about it had I known about this particular app at the time. You see, my son went travelling with the school to a foreign country. The first time he'd been out of the country, which was in itself somewhat terrifying. But when he got there, he couldn't access the internet, so he couldn't message us, which terrified him and terrified us. There were teachers around, obviously, but they were so busy with other things, they can't obviously contact every parent, and it's every parent's nightmare to not be able to contact their child when they go out of the country. But that is where I've discovered now an app which I've now partnered with, which is brought to you by Nord Security, called Saily. Saily is an eSIM for data packages for your mobile phone. It's available in 150 countries. You can either sign up in the country of destination or before you go, so you'll have seamless connection when you arrive. It's affordable, easy to use, and you'll avoid the roaming costs that might be associated with your normal network provider. You download the app, you sign up, you buy a data package that's suitable for you, for the country that you're going to, and you have seamless access to the internet when you get there. You can sign up with my unique link in the description below, saily.com/BlackBeltBarrister, and you'll avoid all of the difficulty that I had trying to go through our network service provider to get the connection to the internet. They wouldn't talk to me because it wasn't my phone. How ridiculous, since I was the one paying the bills, right? Because I was trying to talk to them to say, my son is in a foreign country, please activate the SIM so he can contact us, we can contact him, and he won't be terrified. But they wouldn't do so, at least not initially. It took many hours for that to get figured out, and it would have been so much simpler had I used Saily. And it comes to you by a very trusted company, Nord Security, with whom I've partnered for quite a long time now. And so I would put my full faith going forward in Saily, so that if ever my son or anyone that I care about goes to a foreign country, again, they will have a data package ready to go so they can connect to the internet and chat to you and let you know that they've arrived safely. Once again, I have a unique link in the description below. It's saily.com/BlackBeltBarrister, and it will really help me if you keep this to hand and sign up when you're going abroad, because that helps me to keep producing these videos. They support me and I support you. So if this has been at all helpful to you, please do consider consider signing up. The link's in the description below. And the next time you're traveling abroad or someone else you care about is traveling abroad, they will have seamless access to the internet when they arrive. So no more stressing and no more worrying. So check them out. Thanks for watching, and let's get back to the video. So it doesn't have to be some genius in the back room with a computer somewhere. It could simply be ringing up and getting access to the voicemail using a PIN code, which might just be the standard default PIN code. Some people have said in the comment section before now that that can't amount to hacking because they weren't doing it through some kind of special access techniques, but it doesn't have to be. If you've accessed it without authorization, without permission of the account holder, then that is hacking in any sense of the word. But of course, say for the newspaper's historic account and explanation of events, they deny any wrongdoing. And these were the issues that were due to be tested at trial. In other news, you might have heard that the company's house documents filed by Prince Harry now list the United States as his permanent or usual resident address, changing it, of course, from the United Kingdom. Now, this might have all sorts of consequences, not least of which immigration control, and one might question whether this is a tactical strategy based on the questions raised over his immigration documents and potential deportation, which has been floated about by certain political parties. But it might also have tax implications, and dare I say it, this might flag up security concerns and security protocol issues as well. Because one of his other ongoing cases against the Home Office in the UK is for his security when he visits the UK. Now, if he's listed the US as his permanent address, this is necessarily going to impact on his security when he visits the UK. So that might also be a strategy in part of that case, in that if he's normally resident in the United States, this might affect the visiting protocols when he visits the UK. So that is going to be interesting to see what happens with that as well. But on the other hand, it might also affect his indication that he might want to assist in royal duties or such like when he visits the UK or at any other time. And there may even be constitutional questions raised as to whether he can provide such assistance or carry out such duties when his permanent residence is in the United States. These are things far beyond my personal knowledge without any research. Maybe there's some experts that can leave some comments in the box below. And I mean real experts, not just this is what you heard down the pub. But I'll welcome those comments as well, and we can all have a chat about it in the comment section below. But nonetheless, this is a reasonably interesting development, probably a tactical one. It may be as simple as it sounds. He may just have listed it because that is where he's ordinarily resident. But I'm always a little bit skeptical, both as a person and as a lawyer, and I think that there is some strategy behind it, and I think there'll be some consequences to it. I certainly think it's going to have a consequence on his security arrangements and the ongoing case with the Home Office, which he's recently been refused permission to appeal for the first time. As I've said previously, there is the theoretical option of going to the Court of Appeal to seek permission to appeal from the Court of Appeal. Not that that has any chance of success in my view either, but that is an option ostensibly on the table. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you check out Saley. I will certainly be using that in the future. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.